Today, we're talking about pesticides in your food, and I believe that eating organic fruits and vegetables is one of the best ways to avoid them. Now, to prove it, we conducted a very simple experiment. Went to a grocery store, and we bought conventional and organic produce. And then, we had them tested for pesticides. Here's what the lab found. We started with celery, just an example of what vegetables might be in our lives. We bought both organic and conventional celery, and we tested both for pesticides. In the organic celery, we found no detectable pesticide residue. In the conventional or non-organic celery, we found residues from 3 pesticides. 3 different types of pesticides were found, which means that these vegetables, even after being picked and shipped and processed, still had toxins in them, and you're bringing this into your home. Now, for fruits, we chose peaches, which is a notoriously dirty fruit. Means that pesticides get into it all the time. In the organic peaches, we found residue from 2 pesticides, but at very low levels. So it's still there, but very low levels. In the conventional peach sample, not organic, you guys ready for this? 7 pesticides. Residues from 7 pesticides. That means 7 different types of toxins were found in these peaches. So Dr. Green, analyze this for us. What does this mean?
Well, the results are clear. When you choose organic, you're choosing fewer pesticides. And your results are very consistent with what the USDA finds and other labs around the world find. Again and again, choosing organic, you get a smaller level of pesticides. And every bite of food that we eat is an investment in our bodies, or it's a debt we're taking out we're going to have to repay somehow. And organic is a good investment when it comes to reducing pesticides.
How do you explain that there was still residue of 2 pesticides even in the organic peaches?
Yeah, that's a great question. They're there at very low levels for a couple of reasons. One is that there are some natural pesticides that are allowed in organic agriculture. But the other is that organic farms don't exist in isolation. The conventional farms that are around them will sometimes have pesticides that get into the air and drift or into the water. So organic is not part of the problem, it's part of the solution.
Now, I want to be clear about this. What I'm hearing from Dr. Green is that no matter what we eat, there's still a pretty good chance there's going to be some contamination of pesticides because we live in a globe that's all connected. I also want to be clear that the levels of pesticides we found in the food here, they tested below the levels that the government allows.
Right.
So that's okay. They're in the safe zone. The key question is that good enough for you and your families? Dr. Green, your thoughts?
So I can't look a person in the eye and say that those levels are safe. We just don't know enough. At real-world exposure levels, we have real health concerns and questions that are still out there. I think that some of the levels should be changed. And there's some pesticides, like the organophosphates, that I don't believe we need to be using anymore. Why add unnecessary toxins to the food that's becoming part of our bodies?
So, Diana, let me ask that question of you, if you don't mind. Earlier on, you said the pesticides weren't on your radar screen. How has this discussion influenced that radar screen image?
You know, I can't help but think that I grew up eating all the same fruits and vegetables that I'm feeding to my kids, and pesticides weren't an issue. And I grew up healthy and fine. So honestly, I may make some changes, but I'm probably not going to go radical and change my children's entire diet.
So I got to say, and then I'll speak to your point. As physicians, we just don't know.
Right.
And I don't want to panic everybody, but we're at the very beginning of knowing the true health impact of these chemicals. And let me make this clear to everybody, for your kids. Their little bodies are developing very rapidly. There's some very tentative times there. Their livers, which is where all the detoxing occurs, are very sensitive, and they process toxins differently than adults. Their underdeveloped immune systems provide far less protection than an adult's immune system. And frankly, I'm worried about all their organs, but especially their brains, because they are vulnerable at this critical moment of growth at young age. So, Dr. Green, even the EPA is a moving target. They're changing their opinions of how much pesticide we can allow in our diet.
Yeah, the EPA is making this a major issue, and I'm really glad. They've already lowered the levels allowed on some pesticides, and I believe they'll push that bar forward. Pesticides may turn out to be the next lead. We used to all think when I was growing up that lead was fine, it wasn't affecting us. Then we learned it was affecting the brains, we got rid of it in gasoline, and everyone's IQ went up a little bit. I think we have potential for that.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? I mean, making the kids dumb? Maybe. Because of pesticide exposure? Give me good news, because there are things you can do to make a difference. It turns out that kids who had previously had high levels of pesticide residue in their urine saw that level drop significantly after just 5 days of eating organic food. 5 days, folks. Well, while we're all figuring out the data, I think we've got some action steps. And I think your kids, all of our kids, deserve better than to be part of a national chemistry experiment. So I don't want anyone thinking that you need to eat less fruits and vegetables. We've made that point really clearly. But I do think you can get your kids to eat healthier one way or the other by choosing the right foods to make organic. So I'm saying it clearly now. I want you to eat organic foods. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you exactly which ones to start with. Stay with us.